Hush, hush. Bubble. Hush, hush. Bubble.
Thank you for those kind words, which I guarantee you will not be covered in the Israeli press. Not even one of them. But you're very kind to say that. It's wonderful to be with you and with Malcolm. These are enduring friendships. They both transcend time and momentary wins. They are weatherproof. And the same is true of the many friends that I see here in the audience. We've been partners in this great odyssey of the rebirth of the Jewish people, the rise of the Jewish state as a world power. And it's something that I think cements the Jewish future for all of us. This is what you're concerned with. You're all concerned with protecting and assuring the Jewish future, first through the protection and nurturing of Jewish identity, which I think is a central goal for all of us. I know it is for you and it is for me as well. Second, the protection and nurturing of the Jewish state, which is the guarantor of our future. And third, it is the espousal, I think, of every one of you, of the Israel-American alliance, which is irreplaceable. We have, as I'll tell you in a few minutes, growing alliances. You refer to that, Arthur. Growing alliances around the world. But we never forget, and I never forget, that the American-Israel alliance is irreplaceable. And it's different. It's different from most because it is anchored in shared values. This is not just a shibboleth. It's not just a manner of speech. It's something very, very deep. The American people support Israel in record numbers. We also have growing opposition in some quarters. I recognize that, and I wouldn't turn a blind eye to it. I think that's important. And yet there is a partnership between Israel and America that is unmatched. And you just have to go, you know what, next time I come to the United States, just walk with me. In the streets of New York or in Mount Vernon or in, I don't know, choose a place. And you'll see the response that people have. You will hear, amidst the cheers and amidst the handshakes, you'll hear a free Palestine here or two, one or two. But I found the support of the American people heartwarming and in many ways reflecting and understanding that Israel is the best representative and the best ally of our common interests. I don't think America has a better ally than Israel, and I know that Israel has no better ally than the United States. What is important for us is that this support, which is stronger than ever, remain bipartisan. It's very important that it remains the case. Now, all nations need alliances. A small country like Israel needs alliances. A big country like the United States, a superpower, needs alliances. Everybody needs alliances. And alliances have a peculiar trait for most countries. They're based on interests. And when I say they're based on interests, people usually ask, well, are you weak or are you strong? If you're weak, in general, people don't want to ally with you. People gravitate to the strong. If you're weak, you could be subject to the whims of mercy. That's not a good place to be. Our people have discovered that in our history. It's better to be strong. And to protect Israel's future, we have to develop Israel's strength. To develop Israel's strength, we had to develop one thing. What is it? Hello? How do we ensure that Israel is strong in the Middle East? Okay, I'll give you a clue. You need something. What is it that you must have here? Sorry? An army. Yeah. You want to show what an army looks like? Can you show an F-35? Do you have that? You need that. you need F-35s, you need interceptors, you need submarines, you need all these things. These things have one quality about them. You know what that is? They cost money. Where are we going to get the money? Hello? No, not a strong economy. We'll get it by taxing people. That's how you get the money. You just tax people. But of course, if you tax them, overtax them, you'll get less money. So in order to finance Israel's defense needs, indeed to finance Israel's every need, in education, in welfare, in infrastructure, anything, you need a strong economy. And to have a strong economy, you must have, ultimately, a free economy. Educated people. The Soviet Union had the most highly educated people in the world, yet they went bankrupt. It's not enough to have technology in missiles or in cyber. You know a country that has excellent technology in missiles and cyber? It's called North Korea. Their economy is a fraction of ours, even though they have almost 30 million people. It's not enough to have technology, and it's not enough to have education, because education and technology without free markets gets you nowhere. Whereas if you have free markets, you'll get education and technology. The first and most important task that we have had in Israel, and that had something to do with it, is to turn a concentrated statist economy into a free market economy. And that has created a tremendous eruption, tremendous growth. It's created a tremendous growth because the genius embedded in our people, in our citizens, burst forth into enterprise. And you see here in Israel thousands and thousands of startups which could not have been possible if the tax rate remained 75%. Okay? It would not be possible if you couldn't have some mobility in the labor markets. It would not be possible if you encourage people to have children as a substitute for actually earning a living. These required very, very dramatic and radical reforms, which I had the privilege of leading many of them, and that caused a change in the Israeli marketplace. That's what you see. You see GDP per capita? Notice in which years it's growing faster. All right. But according to the IMF, Israel has just outpaced Japan in per capita income. Can you imagine? You remember this was a country of orange groves, camels, sand. Israel has moved from being an underdeveloped or what is called an emerging economy into a developed economy. And that's important. That's critical because it gives us the needs that we have. It supplies our needs, our defense needs. Of course, we appreciate the support we get from the United States, every penny of it. Deeply appreciated through different administrations. That is highly, highly appreciated. We don't forget that for a second. But remember that if you take all of Israel's defense, all of it together, and you take the fraction that is served by the American aid, it's about 15%. You still need 85%. You need it here. You must have it here. And that's why we had to do this. So in many ways, I espouse an individualist economic policy, a free market economic policy for a collectivist purpose, our common defense. But there is no other way. It's important. Now this success is on the verge of an explosion, a positive one, because we're in the midst of a revolution. It's important to understand what you're seeing, what you're about to see, what you have been seeing and reporting on in Israel's dramatic expansion of diplomatic relations around the world and other relations. It's not only because of what we did, but what was happening. These are the 10 largest companies in the world in 2007. Israeli technology has not yet produced a point of war. Hello? No? 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 No substitute? No. Okay. Can you see that? 10 largest companies in 2007. They include 5 energy companies. And one IT company, Microsoft. Look at 2017. All the oil companies are gone from the top list, and you see the knowledge-based companies taking over. This is a revolution. This revolution is happening. Are you with me? Yeah? It's happening because of the meeting ground of three things. It's called big data, artificial intelligence, and connectivity. That is revolutionizing the world. These companies all involve big data, artificial intelligence, and connectivity together. In Israel, we have all the companies that you saw there, and the top 10 are represented in Israel. But look at what happened. Look at what happened to the representation of foreign companies in Israel. Can you show what happened, please? Can you see that? Miraculously restored. Can you see that red line? Yeah, look at the years too, that's important. Never mind. You can see this growing and growing and growing. It's growing because we produce new industries. An example of a new industry is cyber. Let's look at what happened to the Israeli cyber industry. Can you show that? Israel is now number 2 in the world. Okay? We are about 20% of the cyber market in the world. Look at what happened between 2014 and 2017. Doubled our share. 20%. We're 1/10 of the world's population, and we account for 20% of the cyber market. That means we're punching 200 times our weight. That's extraordinary. So cyber is one industry. We have hundreds of cyber companies. Can you show how many? Hello? You're not keeping track. No? Just show the graph of cyber companies. Very important. Can you show that? Nope. Not that. Show the number of fintech companies. Can you show that? These are new industries. Look at the fintech companies in Israel. Look at the digital health companies in Israel. Well, you look at it if you show it fast enough. Yeah. Okay. Can you show the automotive companies that are there? Show that. Smart mobility. Can you see that? You know of one? Can you name one? Yeah, Mobileye. You can name Mobileye. How about Waze? You can't say that because Google bought it for nothing for $1 billion. It's a joke. There's an explosion. Can you show the cyber companies growth? Can you do that? No? Yeah. You see that explosion? We are in the midst of a revolution. And Israel has a leading place as the innovation nation of the world. Eric Schmidt told me that Israel is in many ways leading the United States even in the industries that he's interested in. But there's no question, somebody told me, there are only two places, the valley and the wadi. We're the wadi. That is unbelievable. If we stick to free market principles and the sound management of our governmental finances, then Israel has a truly brilliant future. What this has done is make Israel valuable to all countries, because you don't have to have fintech to want to be with Israel. You also want to need water. You want to have agriculture. You want to see what agriculture means today? Can you show precision agriculture? Yeah. You know, you're familiar with Israel's traditional excellence in drip irrigation. Well, if you put sensors on the ground, a drone in the air, and a database connected to the two, you can channel water and fertilizer down to the individual plant. You understand what I just said? Yeah. That increases productivity, you can imagine, by whopping amounts. So every industry is changing. Water, agriculture, energy, health, transport, everything is being changed by this revolution. Some things a lot faster, some things a lot slower. You can account for it in your own experiences, in your own daily lives, and you know how different the world is today than it was 15, 10, or even 5 years ago. And Israel is right at the cusp, right at the edge of this revolution. Who wants that? Everybody. Everybody wants our technology. Everybody. But they also want something else. People want better lives. They want more productive lives. They want to have cleaner air. They want to have cleaner water. They want to have affordable energy. But they also want one other thing: What do they want? Security. You want to be safe. You don't want to be killed. You don't want to be mugged. You don't want to be overrun by thugs. And to have security, all nations wish security. To have security, Israel has unparalleled excellence because of what our technological and military capabilities bring, and that is extraordinary intelligence. Israel has done more to prevent ISIS terrorist attacks than any other country on earth. In the last few years, we've foiled over 40 major terrorist attacks. This is a plane bound from Sydney to Abu Dhabi. It was going to be blown up by ISIS. We gave the Australian police the information. You read about it one day that Australian police apprehended some ISIS terrorists, and that plane was safe. But that's true of many, many, many other instances where Israel's intelligence protected dozens of countries in virtually all continents. So all countries want Israel's civil technology, and they want Israel's security capability. And the combination of having both a civilian capability, civilian economic capability, and a military security capability has made Israel a focus of interest. And therefore Israel produces alliances. Let's take a picture of what is happening to Israel. The blue is what the new agreements that we have made just in the last 18 months. Look at that. It's all over the place. In Africa, you mentioned, I've been in Africa 4 times in 2 years. That's got to tell you something. Latin America, I was there twice. First time that an Israeli prime minister has ever gone south of Texas. Can you believe that? Can you believe that in 70 years, no Israeli prime minister visited in his formal capacity or her formal capacity any country south of the United States? Amazing. But we went there, and most recently in Brazil, I got to tell you, I was welcomed there more than with the same enthusiasm, maybe surpassing the Likud convention. It was just unbelievable. Unbelievable what is happening there. And the same is true, of course, of the great powers of Asia, India, China, Russia, and also Australia, where no Israeli prime minister has gone before. Can you imagine that? Or Singapore, for that matter. Japan. You know how much Japanese investments have multiplied in Israel in 4 years? You want to guess? Come on, guess. Well, I can tell you it was a small number. Non-existent before. It's gone up 144 times. Okay? So it must have been small, but it's now in the many billions. And I recently had a delegation here from Japan of 100 leading companies, all of them. All of them. Because they all want that Israeli technology. And all countries want that combination of security and technology that has made Israel now much courted in the world. Has that solved our problems? Nope. No. It hasn't solved our problems with the UN. You heard about the UN. It hasn't solved our problem with the Human Rights Commission, misaptly named if there ever was such an organization. It hasn't solved our problem with the ICC and all these other organizations that are committed to the past distortions. They haven't been released of that yet, and perhaps will not be for quite some time. But there is a tremendous change, not, I would say, a palpable change, a tremendous change in Israel's acceptance around the world by just about every country. That includes another batch of countries that I've not shown on the map, and that is, of course, the Arab and Muslim countries. There is a dramatic change there. The Arab countries, or most of the Arab countries, no longer view Israel as their enemy, but view Israel as their indispensable ally against the battle against the 2 streams of militant Islam. The extreme Sunnis led by Daesh and the extreme Shiites led by Iran are, of course, its proxy. This is something that you can see is expressed in my recent visit to Oman, or Israeli companies that are going to Abu Dhabi or to Qatar, or the fact that Israelis every day fly over Saudi Arabia en route to India. Pretty soon, when we have a direct line to Mumbai, the distance, the time it will take for Israelis to fly from Tel Aviv to Mumbai will be shorter than the time it takes to fly from Israel to London. Look at these air routes. Can you show that? Look. Remember Israel was a dead end? Remember that? Dead end. Look at Israel now. Here are the air routes that affect our economy. The first and most important one is Tel Aviv. No, God, no, of course not New York. New York is very important. But the most important one is Tel Aviv, San Francisco. It's the Wadi to the Valley and the Valley to the Wadi. You can't book enough seats on that plane, and it's not tourists. It's entrepreneurs, it's technologists, it's engineers. On every flight like that, big deals are made. Unbelievable, okay? And the second one is Tel Aviv to the big cities of China, direct flights. And the third one is from Tel Aviv to India, huge market. And the fourth one is now going to be a direct flight, Tel Aviv to Brazil, an emerging superpower. For that, we have to cut the time and not go around Spain and around, but fly directly to Brazil over Africa. How do we do that? Can you show Africa? Well, okay, that was my recent visit to Chad. It's important in its own right, but we're going to fly directly through Egypt, through Chad, and to Brazil. You got that? We're changing the world. Changing the world. But with the Arabs, there's something else. With the Arab countries, as with many Muslim countries, the question is how to fight militant Islam. And recently in Warsaw, you saw something spectacular. I did. There were 60 foreign ministers, representatives of 60 countries, in a hall, about the size of this hall, with the representatives from half a dozen Arab countries who got on the stage and spoke about Iran. They said Iran is the greatest danger we face. They spoke about Israel. One of them said, when asked, what about Israel's military action against Iran's efforts to entrench itself in Syria? The answer was, every country has the right to defend itself. Not bad. They spoke about seeking solutions to problems in the Middle East. They said, yes, we want to solve the Israeli-Palestinian problem, but no, it cannot be solved unless we roll back Iran's aggression. Did you hear that? That's a change. They spoke about it. They said what I've been saying a long time. Everybody said that the way to get to the world, first you have to solve the Israeli-Palestinian problem. That'll get you to the Arab world, and that'll get you to the world at large. And I've reversed the order. I've said, no, it's the exact opposite. First, you build your strengths. You build your economic strength. You build your security strength. You build your diplomatic strength. You get to the world. From the world, you get to the Arab world. And from the Arab world, you get to the Palestinians, because they're the last to know. Okay? And half of them have been overtaken by militant Islam. So we're reversing the order. And I think that this bodes tremendous hope. Tremendous hope. Because as we get to know the Arab countries, and they get to know us, they get to have a different appreciation. They start with security, but that's only where they start. They also want water. They also want energy. They also want agriculture. They also want health. So this relationship begins to ripen. And as it ripens, I think it will create possibilities for coexistence, and who knows, perhaps peace with our Palestinian neighbors in the future. I don't think we have a partner right now, but I think that the path that we're proceeding is the way to secure Israel's future in the Middle East and beyond, with the acceptance of a growing number of countries. That is good news. You are partners in this effort. I never forget that in all those desert years, you went from country to country, and you came and you reported to me, and I remember these conversations with Malcolm, what you were hearing in the Gulf, what you were hearing in Africa, and you're still doing it, and it's deeply appreciated. I do not forget your contribution, always. Thank you. So we've had a tremendous success. I think our efforts, our joint efforts, have produced a historic change in Israel's position in the world, and we deeply value our new friendships. I think that I think you should know that there are going to be other countries that will come to the fore. It may take some time, not much, but it's happening. And at the same time, what we're doing is using this technology and this innovation inward. We never forget that Israel is an open society. We would never have these successes if we had a closed society. Israel is it's the most open society in the world. It has a robust press. Boy, do I know that. It has a robust parliament. I know that too. It's not in session now, but some of you visited and you can see it. It has an independent judiciary. That's not going to change. It has holy sites that are protected for everyone. And as an open society, everyone hears constantly about our challenges. But I thought it important to highlight our achievements because our free press doesn't cover it that much. We never lose sight of our strength. We never lose sight of the good that Israel is doing here and for so many around the world. We never lose sight of the pluralism of Israel. And Israel will continue to be a home for all Jews, no matter where they come from, no matter how they pray, because the unity of our people is a source of our strength. This is one reason why I'm pushing for a pluralistic site at the Kotel. It's been around there for about 20 years. We are refurbishing it. Had to go through the tribulations of Israeli bureaucracy. Have you heard about Israeli bureaucracy? Why are you laughing? This is a great source of growth. How can we grow further if we've already kept our spending down and our taxes down? Where are you going to grow from? Well, obviously, you're going to grow from bureaucracy, because as you remove it, you grow. It's very important. We have moved up. I think I'm kidding. I chair very few committees. I chair the Security Cabinet. I chair the committee to help our Ethiopian brothers, and I do that every few weeks. And we work point by point to make sure that everyone takes part in the Israeli miracle. By the way, our Arab citizens as well. My government, much maligned, has given more than any other government 15 billion shekels in a multi-year program to try to help integrate all the Arab citizens of Israel into the Israeli success story. There is one government that was the champion before. You know who that was? That was another government of mine, but it only gave $1 billion shekels. So we've multiplied it by 15 times. There is a tremendous vibrancy and a tremendous energy to what we're doing inside Israel, and I think this, again, bodes well for the future. But in terms of the Kotel, what I wanted to do is overcome the bureaucracy. We're one step away from completing this refurbished site, which I think will serve as a meeting ground for all Jews. This is what I want. This is also the reason why we continue to invest, something that I began over 20 years ago, to invest in Jewish education abroad. Because Israel then was already coming of age, and we're helping with the Masa and with Birthright. These are tremendous projects that we do together. They enhance Jewish identity. We've tested that. It's very important to continue this, because the unity of our people is key and will always be a matter of the highest priority for me, and I hope for successive governments in Israel. Well, if I succeed, it will continue. There is one problem that we face, and we are aware of it, and you're aware of it. It's the resurgence of anti-Semitism. We see it. It parallels the success that we talked about in Israel. We see it, we hear once again false allegations against Jews. We see attempts, tragically sometimes successful, to kill Jews in the names of radical ideologies or radical positions. And since the establishment of the State of Israel, we see also a new kind of anti-Semitism. The malicious efforts to demonize the Jewish state, deny the Jewish people, and only the Jewish people, the right to self-determination in our ancestral homeland. I think that we have to call it very simply and very clearly. Anti-Zionism is the new form of anti-Semitism. And it doesn't make any difference where it comes from. Whether in the East, we don't have that much in the East, or in Asia. We have it in some places in the Middle East, and we have it in the West. We have it in the West. And it's something that should be condemned forthwith, outright, by everyone. I know that you've been doing that. I want to thank you and commend you for your efforts to combat anti-Semitism everywhere in the world, in the United States and elsewhere. And I commend you for your efforts to defend truth. You are champions of Israel. You're champions of the Jewish people. You're champions of the American-Israel alliance. You're champions of our common past and of our common future. Thank you for standing with Israel. Am Yisrael Chai. And I hope to see you next year in Jerusalem, united Jerusalem. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Я попрошу сейчас вас обратиться к людям, которые не услышат то, что вы скажете. К российским разведчикам-нелегалам, которые сейчас находятся за рубежом, днями будет 95-летие этой службы, но по понятным причинам они не смогут включить российский телевидение публично и выслушать ваши слова. Тем не менее, что вы думаете об этой службе? Какую пользу она приносит России?
Вся моя работа в органах внешней разведки СССР была связана не просто со службой внешней разведки, а именно с нелегальной разведкой. И я знаю, что это за люди. Это люди особого качества, особых убеждений. Это люди особого склада характера. Отказаться от своей текущей жизни, отказаться от своих близких, от родных и покинуть страну на многие-многие годы, посвятить свою жизнь служению Отечеству не каждый может. Это могут только избранные. Говорю это без всякого преувеличения. Вот с таким подходом к делу, с таким подходом к стране, к своему народу живут сотрудники нелегальной разведки. Это уникальные люди. Я желаю им счастья, благополучия и уверен, они услышат мои слова.
What it could be if it's was the mayor of Paris.
Name drop.
Who was just as eager as I am to know why ISIS agents were terrorizing Paris.
All right, here we go. We're gonna just steal a couple of things.
Yeah, can I help you?
Starting with common office objects.
Hey, that's my stuff.
Such as staplers and pins and all sorts of things such as that.
Seriously, I'm gonna have to call security. Oh! That's my heart!
Fuck you! I'm gonna take it and steal it and put it in my pocket.
Oh my god.
Alright, okay, now we're in the quiet safe room where none of the people whose stuff I stole can get to us. Now let's look at all the stuff we got. Whew, got some snow globe, checkbook, staplers,
A human heart, and some pens.
Alright, I'm Billy Satan Stealer, and you've been watching Steal, I don't know.